It is our pleasure to share with you this of American history. For the next few minutes, we'll guide you through as we welcome the 51C Mustang. Back then, Hap Arnold, the lead of the U.S. Army Air Corps, doubted that African Americans in military service could excel in complex tasks or leadership roles. However, under significant pressure from the NAACP and the press, President Roosevelt relented, and in 1939 he ordered the Civilian Pilot Training Department to follow suit and appropriate some $1 million to build a suitable base to train African American airmen at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. They called this effort to train these men an experiment. World War II ultimately gave the opportunity for the first-class jobs. A large population could see in 1943 the first full squadron of African-American pilots was established, and they put down in history as the Tuskegee Airmen. Their reputation for discipline and effective fighter escort to Allied bombers grew. The 332nd flew mission after mission. African-American men refund by hardship, danger, and adversity, and proved the fundamental injustice of a segregated military. And in 1948, by order by President Harry Truman, the armed forces of the U.S. were integrated. We watch now as Doug Rosendahl from Mason City, Iowa, wins the P-51C maneuver. And more than 10,000 African-American maintenance personnel trained at Chinook Field in Rantoul, Illinois. And now from the right, in tribute to honor these American heroes, Doug Rosendahl, P-51C. By North American Aviation, today less than 150 are in airworthy condition. Reporting now, 6-degree rolling maneuver. For the 8-point hesitation roll, let's put our hands together for Doug Rosendahl and Redtail. At this time, we're live with the cockpit with Doug.
51C Tuskegee Airmen here to honor the Tuskegee Airmen, those who fought the African Americans who fought in World War II. Here's our little hat. Well, that ready, we'll have a photo pass next. And it's been a real thrill to be here. We'd invite everybody to stop by our exhibit and see what's going on there. It's air-conditioned and it tells the story of the airmen, and we'd love to show it to you.
Yes, indeed. Setting up now, ladies and gentlemen, low and to the left. Be sure to get your cameras out and at the ready to capture a great shot of this iconic little... Doug and the team invite you to stop by the Rise Above exhibit located just off the right wing of the PC-5 Galaxy. At some point in today's show to learn more about other P-51 Squadron show, including that of Quicksilver, the P-51D model, flown by Scott Scooter Yoke, as well as Bald Eagle, flown by Jim Beasley, as part of today's U.S. Air Force Heritage Flight, alongside the modern-day F-16 Fighting Falcon. As Doug works his way in, he'll give you a great pass down the line, let you get an up-close look at the P-51 Mustang. You will notice underneath the aircraft, you will see this big air scoop. And that helped cool the oil cooler and the radiator. They were in fact located separate from the engine, and if you took damage to that scoop in combat, you wouldn't fly for much longer. You'd seize up the engine quite quickly, and the enemy knew that. But at the end of that scoop, if you look very closely, there is in fact a port that opens and closes based on the airspeed in which the Mustang is flying. And it was found later during World War II that compressed air departing that opening out the back would actually create some thrust, essentially jet thrust, and gave it about 400 pounds of additional thrust in particular scenarios. And you'll also notice to be open to African-American students. Some long to a base to train these African-American airmen at the and experience. World War II ultimately gave these African. Railroad bridges in northern Italy and oil refineries in Romania. They were sent Doug Rosendahl and Redtail, the P-51 Mustang. Nearly 1,000 African-American pilots received training in Tuskegee, Alabama as part of this so-called experiment, and more than 10,000 African-American maintenance personnel were trained at Chanute Field in Rantoul, Illinois. From the left, in tribute to honor these American heroes, Doug Rosendahl and this P-51 was outfitted by American engine producing about 1,100 horsepower, and they were a very air-to-ground platform. However, the Rolls-Royce design, building their V12 Merlin engines, went on to bolster the Mustang's capability. And at this time, we are going to go up live in the cockpit with Doug and see if we can say hello as he flies in the skies of Rochester. Hello, Doug. This is Luke. How do you copy?
My first pass here will be a low pass. Listen to this beautiful sound. Here we go. Especially the Tuskegee Airmen in the WASP. We'd invite you to come by our exhibit, get out of the heat, little air conditioning, enjoy the show, and learn more about the commemorative Air Force and what we do to honor our great American veterans, and especially, again, the Tuskegee Airmen. We've had a great time here in Rochester, and we look forward to coming back in the zoo. So get your cameras ready for the photo pass.
Inbound now from our left at over 320 miles an hour. Get your cameras on this. The P-51C Mustang by request. The commemorative Air Force and operates as part of a special program known as the Redtail Project. This project displays the aircraft and airship they also have an educational program using Tuskegee Airmen to recruit their perseverance, dedication, and patriotism, which in fact lead to success. We again encourage you to stop by the Rise Above exhibit, which is located just off the right wingtip of the Mammoth C5 Galaxy on static display today. To learn more about the Tuskegee Airmen, a great short documentary as well that you can view. An air-conditioned indoor theater as well. And you can learn more about the Tuskegee Airmen and about P-51 Mustang. Doug Rosendahl is going to taxi the P-51 inbound here to Show Center and give you a great look at the airplane as he taxis by. You will notice the Mustang having a fairly unique air scoop underneath the aircraft, and that was utilized to help cool the oil cooler and the radiator. They were located separate from that of the engine in the primary aft fuselage, if you will, of the aircraft. If you took damage to that scoop in combat, you wouldn't fly for much longer, as the aircraft would eventually seize up and overheat. The enemy did know that, but the development of that air scoop and how it's just slightly brought from underneath the rest of the fuselage had a lot of aerodynamic benefits. And in fact, that same technology in the 1940s to build this airplane went on to help the air scoop of the F-16 Fighting Falcon when it was developed in the 1970s. We'll get the chance to see the F-16 a little bit later on.